Coming up on WMLT News, Concord University recently inaugurated its first female president.
Plus, intruders cause questioning about White House security. WMLT News starts right now.
Hello and welcome to WMLT News. I'm Sarah White.
And I'm Jesse Stevens. Kendra Bogus is now the official president of Concord University. September 25th started the weekend of festivities celebrating her inauguration. WMLT's reporters were there to cover the events.
Yes, it is official. History has been made and Dr. Kendra Bogus is officially the 12th president of Concord University. She solidified her presidency with the State of the University address, along with the official inauguration ceremony and swearing in. After the presidential portrait unveiling, we had a chance to talk to Dr. Bogus about what this experience has been for her. Students and faculty have great expectations for Bogus and continue to show support and appreciation for her plan to take Concord into a new era of progress and success.
Most challenging time in higher education, I believe that the moments of the greatest challenge are also to be considered the times of greatest opportunity.
An Oklahoma man was charged Tuesday, September 30th, with first-degree murder and assault after he brutally beheaded a co-worker and stabbed another. Alton Nolan could face the death penalty for his deadly attack on Colleen Hufford at the Vaughn food plant in Moore, Oklahoma. He also faces 2 assault charges. According to the prosecution, Nolan, who was suspended from his job the previous Tuesday, went home, grabbed a knife, and came back for revenge. Nolan reportedly came across Hufford first in the plant's administrative office, severing her head before turning his attention to Tracy Johnson, who has complained about Nolan causing his suspicion, and stabbing her repeatedly, which she survived. The investigation is still ongoing, although the prosecutor is intending to seek the death penalty after conferring with the victims' families.
Arizona Cardinals running back Jonathan Dwyer has been charged with assaulting his wife. These charges from a July argument in Phoenix. The indictment released Friday charges Dwyer with felony aggravated assault and 8 misdemeanors including the assault, criminal damage, and disorderly conduct. Investigators say Dwyer headbutted his wife and broke her nose. He also punched his wife in the face and threw a shoe at the 17-month-old son. His son was not injured.
Governor Jerry Brown signed new legislation on Tuesday imposing the nation's first statewide ban on single-use plastic bags. A national coalition of plastic bag manufacturers immediately said they would seek a voter referendum to repeal the law, which is scheduled to take effect in July of 2015. Under the new legislation, plastic bags will be phased out of large grocery stores starting next summer and convenience stores and pharmacies in 2016. The law allows grocers to charge at least a 10-cent fee for using paper bags.
More news from California as more legislation is signed into effect that allows family members to ask a judge to remove firearms from a relative who appears to pose a threat. It continues California's effort to lead the nation in preventing firearm injury and death, said Amanda Wilcox, an advocate for the Brady campaign, which grades politicians on their effectiveness against gun violence.
A Pennsylvania man was arrested Monday at Baltimore, Washington Thurgood Marshall International Airport after Transportation Security Administration officials found a loaded .40 caliber semi-automatic handgun with 8 rounds of ammunition in his carry-on luggage. He was quickly arrested and could face criminal charges and up to $11,000 in penalties.
Federal health officials confirmed the first Ebola case diagnosed in the United States Tuesday, September 30th in Dallas. Officials at Texas Health Presbyterian Hospital say the patient is being kept in isolation. The Ebola outbreak, which began in Senegal and Sierra Leone a few weeks ago, has killed over 3,000 in the infected countries, and the death toll could reach much higher than that. The Dallas case is the first in the United States, and officials at THPH say that they are following the CDC recommendations to keep everyone safe.
NFL player Hussein Abdullah of the Kansas City Chiefs, who is a devout Muslim, was penalized for praying after a touchdown on Monday Night Football earlier this week. The safety intercepted Patriots quarterback Tom Brady and ran the ball back for a touchdown. Upon reaching the end zone, Abdullah slid to his knees and began praying. He was then penalized 15 yards for unsportsmanlike conduct, specifically excessive celebration. The rule that the officials were enforcing states that players are prohibited from engaging in celebrations or demonstrations while on the ground. NFL spokesperson Michael Signora spoke out about the call after the game, saying, quote, "The officiating mechanic in this situation is not to flag a player who goes to the ground as part of a religious expression. As a result, there should have been no penalty on the play," end quote. However, on a more positive note, the Chiefs fans broke the world crowd noise record at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. The record was previously held by the Seattle Seahawks. Stay tuned, there will be more WMLT news after the break.
The United Kingdom has authorized the use of airstrikes against ISIS in Syria last Friday, and they voted to go to war. The vote was outstandingly for the war, with the result being 524 to 43. ISIS has been loud about its future plans, including attacks on British transportation. The focus on transportation systems is striking fear into the Britons as a callback to the bus bombings in 2005. Prime Minister David Cameron stated, quote, "We will face a terrorist caliphate on the shores of the Mediterranean and bordering a NATO member with the declaration to attack our country and our people," end quote. And now, with this week's sport update, here's Brad Sullivan.
In college news, the Concord Mountain Lions football team beat West Liberty 61-24 this weekend to improve to 4-0. Concord's women's soccer tied 1-1 against Wheeling Jesuit. The CU women's soccer team currently has a record of 4 wins, 2 losses, and 2 ties. In other college football news, Virginia Tech beat Western Michigan 35-17, Georgia beat Tennessee 35-32, and in an upset, Northwestern beat Penn State 29-6. Florida State escaped an upset with a second-half surge to beat NC State 56-41. Texas A&M had to go into overtime to avoid an upset to Arkansas, winning 35-28, and in an upset, Missouri beat South Carolina 21-20 with a late score. In NFL news, the Packers beat the Bears 38-17 to get back to 500. The Steelers lost to the Buccaneers 27-24 with a late touchdown pass. And rookie Teddy Bridgewater made his NFL debut with a 41-21 win over the Atlanta Falcons. Bridgewater completed 19 of 30 passes for 317 yards. On Sunday Night Football, the Cowboys beat the Saints 38-17. And on Monday Night Football, the Kansas City Chiefs blew out the Patriots 41-14. In MLB news, Derek Jeter played his last career game in Yankee Stadium last week. Jeter fittingly hit a walk-off single to cap off his great career in a Yankee uniform. Jeter was greeted with a standing ovation for his last career game against the Red Sox. The Yankees beat the Red Sox 9-5. Jeter will go down as one of the greatest players to ever play the game. He will be missed. The MLB playoffs start this week with the first game being the Athletics versus the Royals, and it is shaping up to be an exciting postseason. That's all we have for sports. I'm Brad Sullivan. See you next week. Back to you guys at the desk.
I recently got to make a trip to the theaters to see the new movie The Maze Runner. And for my opinion on the film, here is your weekly Ticket or Leave It. For the past few months, The Maze Runner has been building hype every way it can. Every preview was thrilling and exhilarating, and most people agreed that the movie looked, to say the least, pretty awesome. But was it really that great? Well, not quite. Let me explain. The Maze Runner is based on the book by James Dashner, which tells the story of a teenage boy named Thomas. The movie opens with Thomas being lifted upwards by some type of elevator. He climbs up for quite some time and finally reaches the top. The elevator stops, and opens to reveal a large grassy field. Thomas opens his eyes and sees a group of other teenagers staring at him. But the most alarming discovery is that Thomas can't remember anything, not even his name. When he gets out of the elevator, he realizes that the field he's standing in is surrounded by massive walls, which, in case you didn't see it coming, that's the maze. The rest of the movie focuses on the struggle the teens face trying to beat the maze and escape their prison. While the storyline is pretty clever, the movie itself is not that exciting. It's pretty action-packed, but the previews gave away a lot of secrets. Almost every time the plot gets intense, it doesn't take much guessing to figure out what's going to happen. And on top of that, the cast is made up almost completely of lesser-known actors. And while their acting isn't terrible by any means, it does get a little bit shaky at times. But the one thing that I found most annoying about The Maze Runner is that it fell directly into the sci-fi action genre that's become so popular. It's extremely similar to movies like Divergent, The Giver, The Mortal Instruments. All of that aside, The Maze Runner is pretty entertaining to watch. It's jam-packed with some pretty amazing CGI, so if you're looking for an action fix, it might be a good option. The Maze Runner scores 2.5 out of 5 stubs, but if you really want to see it in theaters, go to the matinee. It's not worth $11 for an evening show. And that's it for this week's Ticket or Leave It. I'm Jesse Stevens. Thanks for watching.
Homecoming 2014 is right around the corner. This year's events include the usual Concord traditions, such as the homecoming parade, bonfire, and Greek lip sync battle. In addition to these events, the week's festivities will also include bands in the valley, airbrush stations, a game show, bingo, and the opportunity to create a personalized caricature. Prior to the football game, there will be a tailgating contest in the parking lot near the stadium. Student Activities Director Andrew Seldrit has high expectations for this year's homecoming, saying, quote, "Last year was a real turning point, and I believe that this year has the potential to be even better. I think that the students, as well as the alumni, will have a great time." End quote.
And now, with a brand new segment debuting this week, here's Dalton Boggs with your Arcadian game reviews.
Thanks, guys. Today on Arcadian Reviews, I'll be talking about the newest release from Bungie this year, Destiny. In the game, you play as a character called a Guardian, brought back to life to help protect an entity known as the Traveler from another evil entity known as the Darkness. With RPG elements in this online shooter, Destiny is a game that has the best of 3 different worlds: gun designs similar to Call of Duty, hitboxes in an atmosphere similar to Halo, and a leveling system much like Borderlands. Visuals on the games are phenomenal, and I gotta say, it's probably one of the first first-person shooter games where you can not only see your feet, but also the footprints you leave behind. There's also quite a bit to do in-game. There's a story mode, which lets you explore all the planets, a strike playlist, which is similar to a raid in the MMORPG world, and of course, player versus player matches. Despite all this, the game does have a few downfalls. The story is left unfinished, some of the drops are broken, grinding is non-stop, and the servers have issues constantly. That being said, however, if Bungie manages to get these issues fixed, the game will be a fantastic addition to their roster. The game does have a few expansions coming out in the upcoming year, The Darkness Below and House of Wolves, which should expand on the story of the game and raise the level cap. Destiny gets 3.5 controllers out of 5, so if you're ever in the mood for a space shooter and you're still waiting for the new Borderlands game to come out, then I highly recommend this game. That's it for Arcadian Reviews this week. This is Dalton Boggs logging off. Back to you guys at the desk.
And that's it for this week's WMLT News. I'm Jesse Stevens.
And I'm Sarah White. We'll see you again in 2 weeks.